Disclaimer. This content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. My name is Camille. I'm 42, and I've never said this out loud to anyone, not even my best friend. But I need to say it. Maybe because if I don't, I'll disappear completely. I told my husband my body is saggy and ugly. And he didn't stop touching me, didn't stop loving me in his quiet, stubborn way. But it didn't comfort me like I thought it would. It almost made it worse. You don't just wake up one day feeling unattractive. It seeps in, like water under a door during a slow flood. I used to be someone who danced naked in the mirror. He used to watch me, grinning like I was art. His hands used to be impatient, curious. He'd pull me in at random moments, by the waist while I stirred pasta, or brush past me in the hallway and whisper something I won't repeat here. We were married for 11 years this past spring. We didn't celebrate. Just exchanged quick glances over lukewarm takeout before I went to bed early, because of a headache, which wasn't a lie, just not the kind he assumed. Back then, our love was all over the place, loud, physical, chaotic. We fought like two people who cared too much. We made up in the kitchen, the shower, on the floor of our first apartment. I remember once he caught me looking at a stretch mark on my thigh and said, "That's the mark of where your skin grew for me." How lucky am I? But people change. Or maybe time just wears us out until we stop noticing what made us feel alive. Now, when he touches me, it feels polite. Or practiced. He rubs my back when I'm doing dishes, and I flinch a little, even though I don't want to. I tell myself it's hormones. Aging. The weight of routine. The other night, he kissed me while I was brushing my teeth. Minty foam still on my lips. He used to do that just to make me laugh. This time I didn't laugh. I froze. The kiss landed wrong, like a missed note in a song we used to know by heart. Sometimes he hugs me and it feels like a box being shut. Secure, maybe, but tight. Final. Like a seal. And I hate this part. I hate admitting that I've started to avoid mirrors unless it's morning light and I'm alone. I've memorized the way my stomach folds when I sit. I joke about my mom boobs to my friends, but it's not really a joke. He still tells me I'm beautiful. But it feels like he's trying to convince me. Or worse, himself. The thing is, I never stopped loving him. I still feel his presence before he enters a room. I still reach for his hand when we cross the street, like muscle memory. But desire? That's gotten complicated. Sometimes, he tries. God, he tries. He'll run his hands down my back while I'm folding laundry or press into me at night, warm and hopeful. And I lie there, my body stiff with guilt and a strange kind of grief. I used to ache for him. Now, I ache because of him. Because I don't know how to let myself be touched without spiraling into shame. I remember the exact moment I realized something had shifted. We were at a friend's barbecue, and I was sitting on a plastic lawn chair in a sundress that used to be my favorite. I caught a glimpse of myself in the sliding glass door, my arms, soft and loose, my chest, lower than I remembered, my face, fuller, tired. He was across the yard, laughing at something, holding a beer. I used to feel proud that he was mine. But right then, I felt invisible. To him. To myself. That night, when we got home, he reached for me in bed. I hesitated. Then I said it, quiet and broken, "My body is saggy and ugly." He paused only for a moment before his hands came to my hips. "I don't see that," he whispered. "I just see you." But that was the problem. I didn't see me anymore. And I don't know how to find her again. Ryan is a paramedic. That means his hands know how to stop bleeding, restart a heart, hold pressure when everything is falling apart. But sometimes, those same hands don't know what to do with pain that isn't physical. It's hard being married to someone who's constantly saving other people. You'd think that would make you feel safe. But sometimes, it just makes you feel secondary. Like your bruises don't count unless they're visible. The night after the barbecue, I stayed late at work, on purpose. I work in marketing, which means I spend most of my day helping other people look better than they feel. Ironic, right? I stared at a screen for an hour after I was done, pretending I was finishing a report just so I wouldn't have to face the quiet space between us at home. When I got back, the kids were already asleep, dishes done. Ryan was on the couch, still in his dark blue uniform pants, watching some documentary with the volume low. I walked in and his face lit up like it used to when I wore red lipstick. "Hey," he said, scooting over so I could sit beside him. "Missed you today." I smiled. "Tight." "Yeah, long day." He took my hand and started rubbing his thumb over my knuckles, the way he does when he wants to ease me into something more. I pulled my hand back gently. "I'm tired," I said, and stood. "I think I'll shower." There was a pause. That pause that feels like a thunderstorm in your chest. "Camille," he said, voice low. "You've been tired a lot lately." There was no accusation in it. Just a quiet worry. But all I heard was, "You're not showing up for me. You're failing as a wife." I turned back to him, arms crossed. "What are you trying to say?" He stood too, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know. You don't let me touch you anymore. You flinch. Or freeze. It's like I don't know how to get close to you." My throat tightened. "Good," I thought bitterly. "Now you know how I feel." "It's not about you," I snapped. He stepped forward. "Then tell me what it's about." "Because I keep trying, Cam. I keep kissing you, hugging you, holding you. And you keep slipping further away." I wanted to scream, because all you do is touch me. But you never actually see me. But I didn't. I just stood there, arms around my chest like a shield. The problem is, Ryan is a good man. A decent, loyal, hardworking man. And that makes it even harder to say, "I don't feel understood by you." Because that sounds like a complaint when it's really a cry. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. His touch was soft, familiar, warm. "Let me take care of you," he said. And in that moment, I felt it, the growing disconnect. He thought taking care of me meant soothing me with his hands. But what I needed was for him to sit in the dark with me. To ask the hard questions and not flinch when the answers hurt. I whispered, "I don't want to be touched right now." He flinched, just barely. But I saw it. "Okay," he said, stepping back, voice tight. "Okay." I went upstairs, stripped down slowly, stood naked in front of the mirror. My body looked like the sum of all the things I'd given, 2 pregnancies, a decade of caretaking, years of putting others first. Ryan's touch used to make me feel reclaimed. Now it just reminded me of everything I couldn't feel anymore. When I crawled into bed that night, he didn't follow. I heard the couch creak downstairs and the TV flicker on again. Probably a trauma documentary. Maybe something about a crash victim he'd saved that week. The kind of pain he understood. The kind he could stop. He doesn't know how to stop this kind. And I don't know how to tell him that sometimes, his love feels like a bandage on a wound that needs stitches. It happened again on a Thursday night. We were loading the dishwasher together, which had somehow become our most intimate shared ritual lately, domestic and quiet, shoulder to shoulder without too much pressure. I was stacking plates, and Ryan reached over and gave my butt a playful slap. It used to make me giggle. It used to feel flirty, private, like we were on the same inside joke. This time, I flinched. He noticed. His hand froze in the air for a beat too long, and I instantly wished I could rewind and react differently. But I couldn't lie to my body. I was uncomfortable. Not because it hurt. Not even because I was mad. But because I didn't know how to interpret it anymore. Was he flirting? Trying to remind me I was still desirable? Or just checking a box, hoping it would lead to something later? He stepped back a little. Sorry, he said quickly. Didn't mean to bother you. You didn't bother me, I replied, too fast, too clipped. Then, trying to soften it, I added, I'm just tired. Again. He nodded. I could tell he didn't believe me. Later that night, he came up behind me while I was brushing my teeth. The bathroom was steamy from the shower I'd just taken, and I was in one of his old t-shirts. I looked like a woman he once loved deeply, and maybe still did, but I didn't feel like her. I felt like a version of myself hanging on by threads. Ryan wrapped his arms around my waist from behind, kissed the back of my neck. I could feel his breath, warm and familiar. He rested his chin on my shoulder and met my eyes in the mirror. You look beautiful, he murmured. I wanted to feel something from that. A spark, a flutter, anything. Instead, I smiled at him in the mirror, a hollow, practiced smile, and rinsed my mouth. He turned me gently toward him. His hands slid down my sides, his eyes soft, wanting. He kissed me. And I kissed him back. Technically. But inside, I was miles away. I was thinking about the laundry I forgot in the washer. About how I needed to call my sister back. About whether I should buy a bigger pair of jeans or try dieting again. I was hyper-aware of how my stomach folded against his when he pressed in. I tried to relax into the kiss, tried to feel him. But I couldn't stop hearing my own inner voice whispering, he's only touching you like this because he misses what you used to be. When he pulled back slightly, he looked at me for a beat. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. Too quickly again. He searched my face. You sure? I nodded and turned away, walking to the bed, pretending to check my phone. He didn't follow. Just stood there for a moment, unsure of what to do. We crawled into bed, backs to each other. The silence was louder than any argument we'd ever had. And I lay there, my body aching with something I didn't know how to name. I wanted to want him. God, I did. I missed missing him. But every time he touched me, it felt like a demand disguised as affection. Like I had to prove something, to him, to myself, to the memory of who we used to be. And all I could think, curled in that bed with my heart caving in, was, why does everything have to turn into sex? It happened at the most inconvenient time, as these things usually do. A Friday night, just the two of us. Ryan had made dinner, steak, roasted potatoes, and that red wine I only drink on anniversaries or when I'm pretending to be okay. He was trying. I could feel it in the way he set the table, lit the candle we hadn't touched in months, even put on that playlist we used to listen to on long road trips. It was sweet. Thoughtful. The kind of thing that once would have made me feel special. Instead, it made me feel trapped. I spent most of the meal pushing food around my plate, my stomach twisting with guilt and something worse, numbness. He kept looking at me across the table like I was a puzzle he'd forgotten how to solve. Halfway through the second glass of wine, he reached for my hand. You've been really distant lately, he said gently. Can we talk about it? The room spun a little. Not from the wine, but from the pressure, his hopefulness, his expectation, his need for me to be fixed already. I'm just tired, I said again, the lie now so worn out it felt like an old coat I couldn't stop wearing. He gave a soft, disbelieving laugh and dropped his gaze. You've been just tired 4 months, Camille. I stared at him, my heart pounding like it knew a storm was coming. And then, just like that, I broke. Do you even know what it feels like to not want to be in your own skin? I blurted, my voice louder than I intended. To look in the mirror and hate what you see? Every roll, every wrinkle, every stretch mark. Do you know what it feels like to want someone to stop touching you, not because you don't love them, but because you can't love yourself? Ryan looked stunned. Like I'd slapped him. I kept going. I couldn't stop now. The dam had cracked. I told you once, remember? I said, my body is saggy and ugly. You kissed me, like that would fix it. Like kissing me made it not true. But it is true, Ryan. To me, it is. He opened his mouth to speak, but I wasn't done. Every time you touch me, I feel like I'm disappointing you. Like you're trying to remind me I'm still sexy, still desirable, but all I feel is pressure. I don't feel seen. I feel expected. The candle between us flickered violently, as if even it felt the heat rising off the table. He stood slowly, palms up. Camille. I had no idea you felt this way. How long have you been holding this in? I wiped at the tears I didn't even realize had started falling. Too long. I didn't know how to say it without hurting you. His eyes clouded, pain, confusion, something close to helplessness. I wasn't trying to pressure you, he said quietly. I was trying to get close to you. I miss you. I miss us. I swallowed hard. I miss us too. Then silence. Thick and bitter. He cleared the plates without a word. The clink of ceramic was the only sound between us. I stayed frozen in my chair, too ashamed to move, too exhausted to fix it. Later that night, I sat on the edge of the bathtub, knees pulled to my chest, face blotchy and raw. I replayed the whole scene, word for word. How I snapped. How I made him feel like the bad guy for loving me in the only way he knew how. And yet, there was a part of me that felt relieved. Like maybe, just maybe, he finally saw it. The weight I carried. The quiet war I fought every time I changed in the dark or turned away from his hand. But mostly, I felt guilt. For the words. For the silence afterward. For not knowing if I'd just pushed him further away, or finally opened a door we'd both been afraid to walk through. The days after our blow-up stretched out like an endless overcast sky, gray, heavy, never quite raining, but never bright either. Ryan didn't leave. He didn't lash out. He didn't shut any doors. But he got quieter. He started falling asleep on the couch more often. Not in defiance, just inertia. He would come home, pour himself a glass of water, scroll through his phone, and then disappear into the hum of some background show. It was like he didn't want to be a problem anymore. And somehow, that hurt more than if he had yelled. In the mornings, we moved around each other like polite roommates. He'd make coffee and leave me the mug I liked. I'd refill his travel thermos and set it by the door. Small gestures survived where conversation didn't. One morning, I stood in the hallway watching him tie his boots. The same boots he's worn for years, worn leather, creased at the ankles, mud-dried into the soles. He used to ask me to help him pull them off after a long shift, half joking that he married me for that alone. Now, I stood there silently, aching to say something, but terrified of what would come out. He glanced up, met my eyes. I smiled. He didn't. Not in a mean way. Just, in a tired one. It hit me then, I wasn't the only one feeling rejected. I had said words to him I can't unsay. I had taken his desire, his tenderness, and handed it back like it was shameful. And maybe I'd been right to express the pain I was carrying, but I hadn't done it with kindness. I hadn't left him room to hurt, too. Because he does hurt. I see it in the way he barely touches me now, as if waiting for permission. In the way he talks less, not because he has nothing to say, but because he's afraid of saying the wrong thing. In the way he looks at me like I'm slipping through his fingers and he doesn't know how to grip tighter without breaking me. And I miss him. God, I miss him. I miss the stupid jokes he tells under his breath in the grocery store aisle. I miss the way he used to kiss the top of my spine when I washed dishes. I miss falling asleep with his hand resting on my hip like a quiet promise. I miss the version of us that didn't feel so fragile. But I don't know how to get back there. Not without betraying the truth I finally spoke. Not without pretending I'm suddenly okay in my skin again, when I'm still learning how to be. I caught myself the other night lying awake next to him, watching the rise and fall of his chest in the dark. Wondering if he was pretending to sleep just like I was. Wondering if he still saw me, not the body I keep criticizing, but the woman underneath it. The one who once danced barefoot in the kitchen and believed she was still beautiful just because he said so. I don't want to lose him. But I'm afraid of asking him to wait for me while I figure myself out. Again. And yet, maybe that's what love really is. Not blind affection. Not perfect timing. But the willingness to stay close, even through the ugly, saggy, silent parts. I don't have the answers yet. But I know this much, I'm not ready to walk away. Not from him. Not from us. Not if there's still a way back to each other. Even if I have to learn how to reach for his hand again, before I feel fully ready to hold it. It started, strangely, with the laundry. I was folding towels in the bedroom, quiet and alone, when Ryan walked in holding 2 mugs of tea. Not coffee, tea. Peppermint. The one I drink when I'm anxious. He didn't say anything. Just handed it to me and sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees. His eyes looked tired, but open. I've been thinking, he said slowly. And I don't want to guess anymore. I blinked, mug still warm in my hands. Guess what? How to love you without making you flinch. That cracked something open. Not in a dramatic, movie scene kind of way. But in the quiet, aching space where truth has nowhere left to hide. I sat beside him, our shoulders barely touching. We just breathed there for a while, both scared, both fragile. I'm sorry, I finally said. For how I said it. Not for what I said, but for saying it like you were the enemy. He nodded. I know you weren't trying to hurt me. But it still did. I know, I whispered. It's like I was drowning in my own skin. And instead of reaching for your hand, I shoved you back. Ryan looked down at his hands. I miss touching you without wondering if I'm doing something wrong. I miss that too, I admitted. But I think I need to feel like I belong to myself first. Before I can belong to anyone else. It wasn't an easy conversation. There were long pauses. Awkward silences. No quick fixes. But it was the first time in months we spoke without deflecting or defending. Just raw, honest space between 2 people who still loved each other, but had lost their map. That night, he didn't kiss me. He didn't try to turn the moment into something sexual or symbolic. He just slid under the blanket beside me and gently reached for my hand. I let him take it. And when he kissed the back of it, soft, nothing expected, my chest tightened. Not with fear this time, but with something closer to relief. Because maybe love doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, I'm still here, and waits patiently for you to whisper back. We're not fixed. I still look in the mirror and wince more often than I'd like. He still hesitates before touching me. But now, we talk. Now, when I say, I don't feel beautiful today, he doesn't argue or try to fix it. He just listens. And somehow, that's more healing than any kiss. Some nights, we fall asleep facing each other again. Other nights, we still roll away. But when I wake up and find his hand resting quietly near mine, I know, we're still trying. And for now, that's enough. I used to think love was something you either had or you didn't. That if two people stopped touching, stopped kissing, stopped wanting, it meant it was over. Broken. Expired. But I don't think that way anymore. Because now I know, sometimes, love changes shape. It stops being loud and starts being quiet. It stops being fireworks and starts being presence. It stops living in the bedroom and starts living in the pauses between words, the way someone stays in the room after the worst parts of you have been seen. When I told Ryan my body was saggy and ugly, when I said those words out loud, it wasn't because I wanted him to contradict me. It was because I needed him to see that I wasn't okay. That I was grieving something, not just my youth or my appearance, but the version of myself that used to feel alive in my skin. I wanted him to see the woman beneath the woman. The hurt beneath the hardness. What I didn't realize then was that he was grieving something too. He was grieving the closeness we'd lost, the touch I kept pulling away from, the man he used to be when I welcomed him without fear. We both felt alone. We just didn't know how to say it. I think that's the part no one prepares you for in long-term love, the seasons where connection goes quiet. When desire turns into doubt, and touch becomes something you flinch from instead of melt into. What saved us wasn't sex. It wasn't a sudden burst of passion or a grand romantic gesture. It was a mug of tea. A conversation that didn't end in blame. A small, simple willingness to stay in the discomfort, together. It took me months to start unlearning the shame I'd wrapped around my own body. I had internalized so many quiet lies, that only firm skin deserves to be desired. That once you stop being hot, you stop being lovable. That if your body changes, your worth does too. But I don't believe that anymore. I've started talking to myself differently. Instead of saggy, I try soft. Instead of ugly, I try tender, or even just real. I still have days where I don't want to be touched, but now, I say that without guilt. And when I do want to be held, I let myself lean in without fear that I'm being graded. Ryan still looks at me the way he used to. Not always, not every day, but enough. Enough to remind me I'm not just a body he wants, I'm a person he sees. Even when I can't see myself clearly. And I try to see him, too. He's not the flawless partner. He's still clumsy with words. He still assumes affection equals readiness. But he's learning. We both are. That's what love is, I think. Not a performance. Not a highlight reel. But two imperfect people, stumbling, pausing, forgiving, learning how to be close again, without needing everything to be perfect first. So if you're listening to this, and you're in that quiet, hurting place, where you don't know how to be touched, or how to want again, or how to explain why you've gone quiet, I just want to tell you something I wish someone had told me: you are not broken. Desire ebbs and flows. Closeness can be rebuilt. Your body, no matter how it's changed, is still worthy of love, touch, patience. You don't need to be fixed to be held. You don't need to be healed to be seen. And if you're lucky, if you're really lucky, you'll find someone who's willing to sit in that in-between space with you. Who won't rush you. Who won't stop. Even when you say the ugliest, rawest, most shameless thing you've ever said, they'll stay. Not to fix it, but just to be there. And sometimes, that's the thing that starts the healing.